Hi guys, welcome to my channel and another video. In this one I'm going to talk to you a bit about Inktober, what it is, how you can get involved and what my plans and goals are for 2019. Whilst I'm talking you through this, I'll be showing you a quick look at the ink paintings I did for both 2017 and 2018, and then I'll finish off by doing a quick ink painting in my sketchbook along the theme of what I'm going for this year. So make sure you watch till the end and I hope you enjoy the video. So for anyone who hasn't heard of Inktober, Inktober is a month-long art challenge started by Jake Parker. All you have to do is create a piece of artwork in ink every day throughout the month of October and share it on social media if you want using the hashtag Inktober or hashtag Inktober 2019. You can ink whatever subject matter you choose, but there is an official prompt list as well as numerous other prompt lists out there which you can use for inspiration if you want them. I've taken part in Inktober for the past 2 years now and have used the official prompt list both times and used them alongside an animal theme of my own since that's what I like to draw most. The aim of Inktober is generally to have fun and improve your inking skills, and by practicing them on a daily basis you can expect to improve in leaps and bounds by the end of the 31-day challenge. It's also a great way to be part of the art community and see what others are creating too. I've also had my own personal goals for the past 2 years, and this is my way of ensuring I achieve something myself without getting drawn into comparing my work to others in a negative way. In 2017 my main aim was to complete the challenge, and there was no planning or thought past that. I started out using just Winsor & Newton black ink, a dip pen and a few small round paintbrushes to ink out my animals in my sketchbook. By the end of the challenge I'd gained a bit in confidence and began to experiment a bit with colour, which was fun. I posted every day on Instagram, and once a week I completed a painting for YouTube. Last year in 2018 I wanted to go bigger and brighter and experiment more with different ink techniques and backgrounds. I painted in coloured inks and used them more like I would watercolours, and I posted a video every day for 31 days on YouTube as well as sharing the paintings on Instagram. I'll link a playlist with those videos at the end of this one if you fancy checking them out. This made the challenge pretty tough and took up a lot of time in editing and processing videos, which I'm not going to be able to repeat this year. So instead my aim is to paint and post on Instagram daily, but upload a weekly video here on my channel, showcasing the week's pictures and the process of that day's painting. That way I can maintain my sanity and avoid neglecting other responsibilities and jobs I have to do as well. Now, as you may know if you've seen my past videos, I usually tend to work from a reference picture and pretty much copy it as it is, and this has helped me become more confident in my watercolour paintings, but I think it's time to try and expand on that a bit and inject a bit more of my personal style to my artwork, so use the reference photo more to help with anatomy, shape and form rather than as something to copy exactly. So that's another personal aim this Inktober. I also want to expand my theme from painting just animals this year to include botanicals and nature too, which I've been trying out more recently as well and really enjoying. This, as before, I'm going to do alongside the official prompt list for the year, which I'll link below. I'm not going to be painting as big this time round either, to make things a bit more manageable, and I've already cut out some pieces of cold pressed Archer's watercolour paper in preparation. These measure just 8 by 10 centimetres compared to the 8 by 10 inches of paper I painted on last year. But I'm planning a bit of a surprise at the end of the month, which I hope you'll enjoy and I'm really excited about. Now, before we go into the demonstration painting, I just want to mention a bit about supplies. You can use whatever inking art supplies you like for this challenge, so that includes ink pens, fine liners, gel pens, black ink, coloured ink, ink in bottles, dip pens, you get the idea. But personally I like to use dip pens and brushes and liquid inks in bottles because you can vary up the concentration and value just by diluting them with water. For Inktober 2019 I want to try something a bit different. This time, instead of using all of my coloured inks as I have before, I thought I'd just pick one colour and do all my paintings monochrome. As for which colour ink I'm going to use, well, just because I like it, I've chosen blue, and I tried out a few different brands to see which I preferred. So I tested out an Ecoline ink in sky blue, Dr. P.H. Martin's India ink in the colour Turquoise, and Winsor & Newton drawing ink in the colour Blue. I kind of preferred the colour of the Ecoline Sky Blue, but I also considered the properties of the different inks as well. The Winsor & Newton blue ink wasn't really the colour I wanted, but is waterproof when dry, and the Ecoline ink was the right colour, but not waterproof or light fast once it's dry, so it was the Dr. P.H. Martin's ink that I'm going for, which is light fast and permanent when dry, so it ticks all of the boxes for what I wanted to do. Okay, so now it's time to get on with a bit of a demonstration. I've chosen to paint a white dove and some leaves today just to try and illustrate in my sketchbook what I'm going for. By painting in monochrome, I can work on improving my values and have a play about with diluting the ink and building depth through contrast and layering. I've also not used fine line as much before in my artwork, so I thought maybe I'd add in a bit of that to some of the paintings as well. So if you're thinking of taking part in Inktober this year, then you should definitely give it a go, even if you just want to try it out or experiment a bit with some ideas. You don't have to have a lot of fancy art supplies or spend a lot of money on new ones. You don't have to be at a certain skill level either, as getting better through daily practice is part of the point. And you can really personalise it to fit in with your schedule, even if you only have 15 minutes a day. I'm aiming to spend no more than 1 hour to 1.5 hours per day on my paintings, and tried to bear this in mind with my sketchbook painting today. So working out what time you have and when you're likely to be able to fit this into your daily routine could be part of your preparation and help towards ensuring you complete the challenge. In fact, preparation can be part of the key to success. Not everyone will agree though, and may consider it cheating. But in my opinion, as long as you keep the inking for Inktober, there's nothing wrong with planning what you're going to ink, deciding on art supplies, and even trying out some thumbnail ideas in your sketchbook before you start. Personally, I like to know what I'm going to paint each day before Inktober begins, as research and planning on the day can really eat into that hour and a half that I have to paint in. If you're a bit short of time, doing smaller paintings like I'm doing this year, or even doing part of one big painting each day, can be a few ways to make Inktober work for you. But however you take part, the most important thing that I've learned over the past couple of years is not to compare your artwork negatively to other people's. Everyone has different commitments, responsibilities and schedules, and there will also be people out there with a wide range of training, experience and skill sets. These people with more time may be able to complete larger, more elaborate pieces of artwork every day. Those people with more skill may not need much time to create elaborate artworks, but one thing's for sure, every one of those artists had to start somewhere. Inktober is not a competition, it's a personal challenge. If you write down your personal goals before the challenge begins, you can go back and revisit them throughout the month if you need to, and remind yourself why you wanted to do it in the first place. And sometimes, even with the best laid plans, you may find you have to miss a day. Maybe you get sick or something happens you can't plan for. It doesn't matter. Don't give up, just carry on the next day. This does not mean you've failed. Life happens. Do your best, have fun and enjoy it. And I think that's about it so far as Inktober is concerned. If there's anything I've missed or you have any questions, comments or your own tips for success, please share them in the comments section below. But before I go, I just wanted to talk quickly about this painting here in my sketchbook. Painting in ink is a bit different to watercolour in that it dries permanently, so you can't lift or lighten the ink once it's dry. This might be seen as a disadvantage, but it does mean that you can use layering to build up depth without having to worry about disturbing the colours underneath. I use quite a bit of layering in this piece, especially on the leaves. Ink also dries quite quickly, so I like to use the wet in wet technique on larger areas to prevent any harsh edges from forming. In areas where you want a bit more control though, you can still use the wet on dry technique, and I use this for the darker shadow areas on the leaves. In this painting, I also experimented with using a water brush, as with its constant supply of water, it can buy you a bit of time. Using the wet on wet technique with ink is also really satisfying, and I love watching how it bleeds out and spreads over the surface of wet paper. For the veins on the leaves, I painted around them, which is a technique known as negative painting, and one which you use in watercolour painting too, to preserve lighter areas rather than painting them in on top or at the end with, say, white gel pen, gouache or coloured pencils. I really like using this technique and think it helps to keep the painting light and bright. With a few layers painted on the leaves, I went back in to darken up the background, and for this I used a 1/2 inch flat brush and applied the ink to damp paper. I think it helped to make the white feathers of the bird stand out, but it did dry quite a bit lighter. So I went back over with another layer and my water brush to the area at the bottom right and top left, before adding a few more details to the feathers themselves. And then it was time to add in a bit of something different. Here I'm using a dark sepia fine liner by Faber Castell and just dotting in some branch details and adding to the darker shadow areas. It was a lot of fun and I think adds a bit of interest, but let me know what you think. I have a vision of all these little paintings being put together side by side at the end of the month and looking overall quite dramatic, even though individually it might not be as visually impressive or colourful as my paintings last year. So if you'd like to see how that turns out and what the surprise is that I mentioned earlier, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon too if you'd like to be notified as soon as I upload a new video. If you can't wait until next Friday to see my first Inktober paintings, then feel free to check out my Instagram too, at Sarah Newbury Art, and I'll leave information on that down below. Thank you so much for watching, have a great weekend, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, bye.